Pumpkin spice latte, please. I want it freezing though. Actually, I just want a regular coffee. Those white girl pumpkin spice lattes annoy me. I'm in love. Name? Senorita Awesome. You got it. Senorita Awesome. Happy Scream Queens video. This one has been highly requested, and also I've been wanting to do this for forever, but I needed to nail down my cosplay look. Of course, I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll do Chanel, but no. I had to do Miss Grace, aka Senorita Awesome, and I had to source these materials before I got to filming this because it is so important to me. This show is a masterpiece, and I honestly don't even know where to begin. I deem it to be an iconic camp classic. It has a cult following, and more people discover it from the amazing clips that go viral, honestly, every week on TikTok and Twitter. Like, it truly was ahead of its time. And just to be clear, when I am talking about the show, I am referring to season 1 and season 1 only. Season 2 was a mess, and we will get into it later, but seriously, season 1 is absolutely amazing. I think we should just start with the creation of the show, like how it actually got greenlit and how it came to be. On October 20th, 2014, Fox announced that it had picked up a show created by the same people that did Glee and American Horror Story, Ryan Murphy, Brad Falchuk, and Ian Brennan. Originally for 15 episodes, which was later shortened to 13. They wanted to combine the humor shown in Glee with the kind of dark screamer slasher element of American Horror Story. And thus, Scream Queens was born. All three of these creators were also obsessed with 80s and 90s horror and slasher films, so they really wanted to pay homage to that in kind of an unserious way, which honestly I think they nailed. And another huge factor for the show being made was the OG Scream Queen, Jamie Lee Curtis. Before the script was even written, Ryan Murphy had a meeting with her, basically kind of explaining this idea that he had in his head, just the story, and said if Jamie wasn't gonna sign on to it, then they were just never gonna make the show to begin with. So everyone needs to bow down to Miss Jamie Lee Curtis, because without her saying yes, we would have never gotten this television show. Originally, it was set to be an anthology centered around 2 female lead characters every season. And for season 1, that was presumably Chanel Oberlin and Dean Munch, because those were the first 2 characters actually announced. We now know that never happened. It became an ensemble, and a lot of the characters, because people loved them so much, were brought into season 2. So there was overlap there, and the only thing that really changed was they changed the setting and the villain for the second season, but kept a lot of the same characters. The cast itself is so seriously stacked. Like, I don't even know how they were able to get all of these people on a filming schedule, because most of them are A-list celebrities, and the budget had to have been non-existent. Emma Roberts and Jamie Lee Curtis were the first 2 cast members announced in December of 2014. That was followed by a major announcement January 7th of 2015, where Lea Michele, Ariana Grande, Kiki Palmer, Abigail Breslin, and Joe Manganiello were added to the cast. And of course we know Joe Manganiello was not in this show. He had to drop out because of Magic Mike press, so he was replaced with Oliver Hudson. A little over a week later, Nick Jonas got his own cast reveal. And then we got some additional casting news over the course of the next 3 to 4 weeks, with Billy Lord, Skylar Samuels, Niecy Nash, Lucian Laviscount, Glenn Powell, Diego Boneta, and Nazim Pedrad were announced to be series regulars. Another thing I want to point out here is this was Billy Lord's first acting role. I know we've seen a lot of her. She ended up acting in like every season of American Horror Story after Scream Queens, but this is her first real role. And she, of course, is the daughter of Carrie Fisher and the CEO of CAA, Brian Lord. And despite the nepo of it all, she ate this role. She devoured Chanel number 3. There were also guest appearances from Chad Michael Murray and Patrick Schwarzenegger in season 1. And then John Stamos and Taylor Lautner joined in season 2 as series regulars. But again, I'm not speaking about season 2 in this video. Thank you so much. Fun fact, Taylor Swift was actually supposed to be in this show. She was offered a role by Ryan Murphy as a Kappa Kappa Tau sorority member, but had to turn it down due to scheduling conflicts because she was on tour at the time. But don't worry, we eventually get a little nod to Taylor. In episode 4, we see Chanel Oberlin, the main character, do her Chanel Oween, which was a parody on Swiftmas, which is Taylor Swift's old tradition where she would send gifts to fans and have them record themselves opening it and posted it to her social media. This was parodied in Scream Queens, with Chanel doing the same thing, but for Halloween, sending gruesome gifts to fans.
Network news anchor who's super classy and has almost no fat on her body. But a lot of my fans are like friendless, dumpy co-eds at this or that nursing school in one of this country's various national armpits.
And I love Taylor, but like how iconic would it have been if Taylor and Ariana were both cast in the show at the same time? But only a Ryan Murphy show could bring together all of these people to create the masterpiece that it is. Then we need to go into the characters themselves because these are what make the show. The writing and the characters are... Seriously, I have no words. They're so good. They're iconic to say the least, and we have to start with our leading ladies, the Chanels. Chanel Oberlin, played by Emma Roberts, is our college queen bee. She is the president of the Kappa Kappa Tau sorority, and everyone despises this girl. Ryan Murphy actually created this character based on a real story of a sorority girl. She was a Delta Gamma at the University of Maryland. She sent this horrific email that ended up going viral, and he saw it and was like immediately inspired to use elements of this sorority girl in Chanel. She is surrounded by her minions, of course.
Chanel number 2.
Chanel number 2, played by Ariana Grande.
Chanel number 3.
Chanel number 3, played by Billie Lourd.
Chanel number 5.
And Chanel number 5 being played by Abigail Breslin.
There was a Chanel number 4, but she got meningitis. She was like, I'm sick, I have to go home. And I was like, no, stay. But she went home anyway, and then she died.
Then we have the newest members of the Kappa Kappa Tau pledge class, Kiki Palmer, who plays Zayday Williams, and Skylar Samuels, who plays Grace. And I want to get into the other pledges when I talk about the pilot because they have these nicknames that like I need to explain how they got them. And it only makes sense in the context of the plot. Next, we have Glenn Powell, who plays Chad Radwell, Chanel's on and off again boyfriend, who sleeps with everyone on campus. He is the president of the Dickie Dollar Scholars, the fraternity, and he's followed by his right-hand man, Boone, played by Nick Jonas, who ends up having a crush on him, kind of. Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, plays Dean Munch, in my opinion, like the first or second funniest character in the show. It is very clear which characters Ryan wanted to shine based on the dialogue that was given to them. And Dean Munch is someone that like I laugh out loud every single one of her scenes. Then we have Niecy Nash, who plays Denise Hemphill from Secure Enforcement Solutions. She is a security guard and she's in my top 3 funniest as well. She is so funny. The way that she delivers these lines as Denise.
See, you, Zayday Williams, have a chainsaw under your bed. Oh, what? Super Sleuth Denise Hemphill found it.
No, it's so good. And of course, as I said, I want to go through the rest of the characters as I'm explaining the plot because it'll make more sense. So the overarching idea of this show is it is set at a college, Wallace University, and it is being terrorized by the Red Devil Killer. He is specifically targeting people in Kappa House and will stop at nothing to kind of destroy the sorority from the inside out. The mystery spans the entirety of the first season, and as we go through the episodes, we find out everyone has a few secrets that kind of gives them a little bit of a motive or reason as to why they would be seeking revenge on Kappa House. And I honestly, there are people that think that the writing of the show is bad because of the horror elements not being scary enough. I don't think that way. I hate scary movies. I don't care. Like, the writing is amazing. It feels like a parody of a slasher movie in the best way possible. Like, it's camp, and you just have to understand that it's leaning into that factor, and then you can appreciate it for what it is. When I say this is one of the best pilots in history, I mean it. I want to talk about it in its entirety and explain all of the details because it sets up the show really interestingly and gives us some of the most iconic moments that go viral every other month. First of all, it was a double premiere, meaning episodes 1 and 2 aired back to back, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to talk about the pilot itself. We open with a flashback. We're at Kappa Kappa Tau in 1995, which Kappa Kappa Tau was actually supposed to be Kappa Nu Tau, KNT, that acronym, of course, see you next Tuesday, if you're picking up what I'm putting down. That was supposed to be the acronym for the sorority, but it ended up getting changed to Kappa Kappa Tau, which I couldn't find a reasoning for that. I just noticed it as I was doing my research. It's very clear that a party is going on at the house, and Sophia, a member, is found in the bathtub holding a baby. She's surrounded by some of her sorority sisters who all end up leaving because they start to hear their jam. Waterfalls by TLC, they have to go dance.
This is our song! TLC! I am not missing Waterfalls for this. Waterfalls is my jam.
But Amy, the loyal sister that she is, stays by Sophia's side. And when the rest of the group returns, they realize Sophia has bled out in the tub. Stunning opening. Then we fast forward to present day Wallace University. Dean Munch is not having it with the Kappa girls. She calls Chanel into her office and says, listen, I know that you're the reason Melanie Dorcas, the OG Kappa president, is in hiding right now and had severe chemical burns on her skin.
Do you think you like to munch box because your last name is Munch, or is that just a coincidence?
First of all, I'm not a lesbian.
Chanel says you can't prove anything, and Dean Munch is like, well, I'm gonna shut down Kappa House, just you wait, and says that she will be revoking their charter, meaning they cannot do anything on campus. But then Gigi, played by Nazim Pedrad, comes in and says like she's from the National Board of Kappa Kappa Tau, and Dean Munch actually can't do that. But they end up coming to an alternative solution after Chanel leaves the meeting. Then we see Grace Gardner being dropped off by her father at school. We learn her mother passed away when she was 2, and she wants to join Kappa House to feel closer to her, which really upsets her father because her dad is like, Kappa House is a bad idea. We figure out later in the series why he's saying this, but he's like, don't do it. Sororities are bad news, and I don't want you in there. But Grace says it's kind of the final opportunity for her to feel close to her mother, and it is a dream she's had for her whole life. So Grace, aka me, we're gonna join Kappa House. Then as she's moving in, we see Zayde Williams, played by Keke Palmer, is introduced as her roommate, and Grace actually encourages Zayde to come with her to the Kappa House party later that day. It is nighttime, the Rush Kappa party begins, to which Dean Munch crashes and tells us the solution that her and Gigi came up with earlier. She announces everyone must be taken as a pledge this year, and this freaks the girls out. All of the normal sorority girls leave. They're like, I can't do this. I need to be in a selective place, very like sorority-esque. And that leaves our motley crew, Grace and Zayde, plus Neck Brace, aka Hester, played by Leah Michelle.
Who wears a neck brace like that in 2015? You know, who are you, Forrest Gump?
Def Taylor Swift, aka Tiffany, Predatory Les, aka Sam, and Candle Vlogger, aka Jennifer. So these are the Kappa pledges because Chanel can't say no to them. And they have this group of girls who are not typical Kappas, and the Chanels are freaking out. Specifically, Chanel Oberlin, she is throwing a fit. She's over this rule, and the next day she's complaining to Chad about it, to which Chad says he'll break up with her if her popularity decreases because of it. And this sparks an idea in her head. Chanel's like, well, if I can't like tell them to leave myself, I can scare them away and make sure none of these girls end up making it as a sister. And the way she wants to scare them is she wants to quote unquote burn Miss Bean, the housekeeper's, face off in the fryer. As Chanel is explaining this plan to Miss Bean, they're walking into the Brew, the coffee shop, and we get the most iconic scene of the entire show. And I'm gonna act it out for you guys in my Grace cosplay, but you guys are gonna know when I'm being Chanel and when I'm being Grace. Chanel asks Pete for a Trenta no foam 5-shot half calf, no foam pumpkin spice latte at 210 degrees. Pete is really hesitant to fulfill this order, to which Chanel says, I'm sorry, did I enter a wormhole to a universe where this coffee house does not possess the technology to heat my favorite autumnal drink to 210 degrees? I like my pumpkin spice lattes extra hot, so please comply with my request. Pete says, that's past boiling. And Chanel finishes off by saying, I'm sorry, does your job description entail arguing with your customers, thereby delaying the moment at which they receive the irresistible nutmeggy sweetness of the extra hot, no foam pumpkin spice latte that they've been thinking about all day? God! So Grace is observing all of this because she is in line right behind Chanel. So then it becomes her turn and she says, pumpkin spice latte, please. I want it freezing though. Actually, I just want a regular coffee. Those white girl pumpkin spice lattes annoy me. Pete responds by saying, I'm in love. Name? To which Grace says something that is so despicably insane. Oh, it sends shivers down my spine. I can't even say it. She says, Senorita Awesome. Seriously? Why would they write that? Oh my God, my hat's falling off. So insane, but so camp. But so camp. Pete then warns her about Kappa House. He's like, Chanel's bad news. You should not join Kappa House. Very similar to the way that her dad was warning her in the car. Chanel overhears this and interrupts to say that Pete was actually like kind of obsessed with Chanel last year and a little bit stalkerish, and she had to file a restraining order against him. Grace then leaves because she's like, I don't know what to believe. And Pete runs after her. Senorita Awesome, wait.
Covered the many layers of Senorita Awesome.
Senorita Awesome, wait up.
He says Chanel led him on and kind of humiliated him in front of everyone. So he was upset about it. And he wasn't doing it because he was being creepy. He was doing it because Chanel was giving green lights. We're at Kappa House later that night and the prank on Miss Bean is about to begin. But we see the Red Devil come in and turn on the fryer, which is bad news bears. Chanel then actually burns Miss Bean's face off and kills her.
She's dead. Well, of course she's dead. You just burnt her face off. Shut up. You don't die from getting your face burnt off. Yes, you do.
So all of the girls are freaking out because they're like, what do we do now? They end up hiding her body in the freezer, and Chanel bribes all of the girls not to tell anyone with a vacation to Cancun. Then the Chanels are alone and they begin a blood oath to swear that they're never going to speak about this night ever again to anyone. And Chanel number 2, played by Ariana Grande, says that she cannot be silent. Was she silent or was she silenced? We're gonna find out in a sec. Because she runs to her room to pack her things, and we get such a good scene. Seriously, I love this scene so much. When I think and talk about Scream Queens, I talk about Ariana Grande getting killed off by the Red Devil because it is genius. She's packing her things. She gets a text. Brave enough to open the door. Her doorknob starts to wiggle and she whips around and she opens it to reveal the Red Devil. The Red Devil enters. Ariana Grande is kind of stoic in nature and she's blinking and batting her eyelashes at him when then he pulls out his phone and texts her. Chanel looks at the text. So you want to dance with the devil? Chanel number 2 texts back, maybe. The Red Devil dips her and they're doing a little dance and Chanel's kind of gooped and gagged, to which then the Red Devil texts her saying, I'm gonna kill you now. And then she sends back, wait, what? She then gets stabbed in the shoulder. She then texts him saying, stop, please. The Red Devil does not stop. Chanel is on the ground and she's reaching for her laptop so she can tweet. She's writing a tweet that says, help, he's killing me. The Red Devil is killing me. And sadly, Ariana Grande passes away. But after she faints, it seems like she's dead. But then she wakes back up, presses enter and send on the tweet, and then she's passed. And we say goodbye to an iconic diva. The fact that Ariana Grande came in for a few days to film this scene, I give her 10s. Literally, I am obsessed with this scene. It is so funny. Hell Week at Kappa officially begins. Chanel's like, okay, well, I couldn't shake them with the Miss Bean thing, so now I have to put them through a crazy Hell Week so they never want to be a part of this sorority. In order to do that, they do a little exercise where Chanel number 3 buries Zayday, Predatory Les, Deaf Taylor Swift, Candle Vlogger, and Hester in the lawn from their feet to their neck. So only their head is sticking out of the ground. The Red Devil then starts up his lawnmower and goes to town on Deaf Taylor Swift while she's singing Shake It Off. So you did hear that correct. Deaf Taylor Swift cannot hear the lawnmower, but she is singing Shake It Off when she is decapitated. And we say goodbye to another diva, which kind of is crazy. We're at a body count of 3 now by the end of the first episode. That's the end of the pilot. It received a 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb and a lot of favorable critic reviews. The only negative ones came from horror movie websites that were expecting it to be a lot scarier. I don't know what they were expecting. Like, this is kind of campy. It's not supposed to be a regular horror film. It's supposed to be satirical in its nature. So it delivered in my opinion. But this entire show is genius. And I just want to show you some of my favorite moments throughout the entire thing because some of these things I can't explain. Like, it doesn't do it justice.
You burned the milk. Learn to make a pumpkin spice latte, you psychopath.
I'm in love. Name?
Senorita Awesome.
You dumb girls are so stupid.
Number 2 is still posting on Instagram. There she is by the pool sunbathing.
They're just not even cute.
Seriously? That's right. See, despite what you've heard, hell sucks. It's not fun. Yes, there are water slides, but they're lined with razor blades and you splash down into a pool of boiling pee. Also, 0 dinosaurs.
Damn, he shot him. And he getting away.
To a pumpkin spice latte. They're so my jam, even though they make me obese.
And I both know that lesbian was cannon fodder. And think about it. What kind of life was that guy gonna live with no hearts? As well as allegations of bestiality.
No one forced that goat to get as drunk as it got. That's on him.
She's probably in a bad mood because Adolf Hitler was motorboating my boobs.
Thank you, guys. I will never be able to repay you for the kindness you've shown me in here. Besties for life, I say.
Oberlin, your bail's been posted.
Later, losers.
Because we're chasing waterfalls. We gotta stick to the rivers and the lakes that we used to.
Instead of strutting across campus in a beautiful diamond formation, we
were forced to strut across campus in a triad formation like a bunch of hobos.
You didn't knock. You know what that means? Rules are rules.
You ignore this verdict.
What? You can't ignore the verdict?
What verdict? See, this is me ignoring the verdict.
Wait a minute, are you supposed to be Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia?
I wanted what you had, and I really needed my tube packed.
Excuse me, Miss Oberlin. Are you cheating?
God, no. Kaisi is my Asian.
Got the body bag? Check. Okay, the car's idling out back. We'll pull bitch popsicle from the freezer, throw her in the trunk, and make tracks.
And now I want to talk about why it is so pop culturally significant. I truly, wholeheartedly believe that it was ahead of its time, and a lot of people that worked on the show did say the same thing. Like, it just wasn't received as well as they thought it was going to be, and it's just, I think, because of the time it was airing, it just wasn't landing as well as it would have now. Like, a lot of Gen Z fans have kind of watched later on, not when it was airing, and they love it. I feel like it has a huge cult fan base, a lot of those people being Gen Z. It's because the humor feels more online like that than millennial humor. So I understand why it has a big fan base with a younger generation as well. Also, Emma Roberts as Chanel Oberlin is a dream cast. People were really familiar with Emma in this kind of character as she was playing Madison Montgomery in American Horror Story Coven, like literally a year before. People were obsessed with that character. They loved that season, and Emma takes a very similar approach to Chanel Oberlin. It's like this bitchy, quick, witty character, and it she fits so easily into it, and people were really familiar with her as that anyway, that she was able to even amp it up more for this role in Scream Queens, and I loved it. I think it honestly works in so many ways, especially the way that she and Dean Munch kind of go back and forth with each other is a big selling point of the show, in my opinion. Also, the cast was completely stacked. So there were people from all walks of life, all different fandoms tuning in to see their faves. Like, Jonas Brothers stans were tuning in to see Nick Jonas, Arianators were tuning in to see Ariana Grande. Like, it was a big moment in pop culture history because of the star power. And we all know Ariana would not have been filming in between Honeymoon Tour Likes if she didn't love this idea. Like, she was obsessed with it, and she even did a lot of promo for it as well, like interviews. The script is also just so unserious. It is a show where I laugh out loud multiple times an episode, and it was super absurd, self-aware, and mixed this like sorority aesthetic with the horror aspects of a great slasher. So what really wasn't to love? Like, there's an entire episode where Denise Hemphill from Secure Enforcement Solutions tells ghost stories, and like then those ghost stories start happening to the girls. Like, it's just campy in nature, and if you're taking it seriously, you're watching it wrong. I think that's like the biggest takeaway. If you were watching this expecting a serious horror film with like gore and real like scary moments, it's not that. So don't expect it. But with that being said, it did pay homage to the slasher genre. I mean, casting Jamie Lee Curtis in itself was kind of a nod to that community. Plus, they took a page out of the movie Scream's book, where they used Drew Barrymore a lot in the Scream promo. Even though she was the first girl to be killed off, they did the same thing with Ariana Grande. They threw her all over the marketing. They had her name all over this project just to kill her off in the first episode, and it worked. Honestly, the marketing in general is like another thing I just want to talk about in itself, because people were instantly intrigued after seeing the teasers. There were some unique promotional efforts, like at 2015 Comic-Con. There was like a Scream Queens fair ride where it was like the one where it brings people up and then drops them down. But there were photos, and it's like, I scream for Scream Queens. That was kind of like the tagline they used for the ride. And those photos started to go viral on social media, as well as the fact that they racked up over 200,000 Instagram followers before the show even aired because of, honestly, the teasers and the star power and the posters, which were iconic. The interviews are another thing people come back to, and one of the main points I want to make here is this like weird feud between Ariana Grande and Abigail Breslin. Like, it was very clear that these two people do not like each other, and they were so, like, you can feel tension between the two of them in interviews where it just feels super odd, and people will go back and point that out even years later, and without even watching the show, they're like, what is going on here?
A smoother and a lower. I think it was like, what I liked about it was it kind of came like as like a, she like is like, oh yeah, this is happening.
I want
right
to see
now.
what you just said written on paper.
And as I said in the beginning, it has had a cult following from the beginning. That is very clear from the amount of followers that it got before it premiered. But over time, with social media, these clips have started to go super viral. Emma Roberts as Chanel Oberlin goes viral every week on TikTok. Ariana Grande's scenes and just like Senorita Awesome, these moments from the show that are so funny, get new life breathed into them on all of these different platforms. And it has kind of encouraged a lot of people to go back and watch the show or just start watching for the first time. And I think that's why it's been able to keep up this fan base and even grow over the years. It also sort of paved the way for this like bitchy horror genre. That's like the only way I can really describe it, that we kind of see in like a Wednesday or a Chilling Adventures of Sabrina. Also like later seasons of Riverdale and Bodies, 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 that Rachel Sennett horror movie. Like a lot of the elements of Chanel Oberlin are seen in some of these other projects. But I will say the original premise of the show ultimately led to its demise because, as I said, Ryan Murphy wanted this to be an anthology. which basically means every season is its own capsule and it has new characters, a new story every year. But because people loved these characters so much, specifically the Chanels, they decided to ditch that and kind of mesh what they had going with the idea of an anthology, which basically they took the Chanels, put them in a hospital for season 2, added a few new characters, and gave us a new monster in the Green Meanie. I just don't think it landed. The script itself was not as good, and this probably is due to the fact that the 3 creators were working on like 4 other shows at this point. I mean, Glee had just finished, American Horror Story was in production, and that was a crazy big show that took precedent over Scream Queens, plus like American Crime Story and a couple others, so it kind of took a back seat, and the writing in season 2 is just not nearly as good as season 1, and the setting makes no sense. I hate the second season monster, and the mystery is just not as good. And so it fell off really, really hard. This, of course, was reflected in its ratings, and that is ultimately why it got canceled and taken off the air. But it is streaming on Hulu now, and I go back and rewatch season 1 every year over Halloween. Like, I just love it so much. I think I've seen it probably 6 times at this point, which is really scary to admit, but like seriously, I love the show so much. With all of that being said, Scream Queens has continued to grow a following well into 2025, and people like me are begging for a reunion. I don't think that'll ever happen because this group of people will never be in the same room again. Not because there's like beef necessarily, but because they're all so busy. Like, they are A-list celebrities, and the fact that there are so many of them that were a part of this and wanted to make this show work the way that it did, you have to take your hat off. I know people don't like Ryan Murphy, and I get it, but like, this show is a masterpiece. The same way I talk about Glee is like how I talk about Scream Queens, but I love the horror aspect. I've seen every season of American Horror Story as well, so the fact that they were able to kind of create this middle ground of Glee and American Horror Story is kind of insane, because they're both such successful shows on their own that they combine to maximize their joint slay. And for that, I have to just tip my hat to the creators, specifically Ryan Murphy, because without him, like, this script would not be what it is. So that's the Scream Queens video. I'm Senorita Awesome. I'm signing off. I know a lot of you guys have been really waiting for this video, and I've been waiting for the right time to do it, but it's finally here. I have some great stuff coming on this channel. Have the best week. Please like, comment, subscribe, share with your friends, and tell me if you like my cosplay as Grace. I think that I killed it. I just like used my Allison wig and it's like pinned in the back, but that's all I have to say. What is your favorite Scream Queens moment? Bye guys.